Let's report presentation by our own Monty Anderson, Options Real Estate. Mr. Anderson.
Hi, good morning.
Hey, good morning. It's good to see you this morning.
You too.
Is that my book right there?
Yeah,
I was looking for it. Sorry, that's why I was just there. Sorry.
All right. It's all, the floor is yours.
So excuse me.
The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I can't hear or see anything.
You want a paper copy?
Happens to the
I got it here. So I was so May we have a good month in May, $34,000 income. So last month was 33. The month before that was 18. The month before that was 27. Just to give you an idea where we're at. We're complete. We're full except for now we got one in the retail space. As of this morning we're 100% full. So I just got back from there in the retail part. Got one restaurant where Peace, Love, and Eats replaced with Shelley, who was there before, and so she's moving. And then we leased the health club was struggled from day one. But we got a really great dance school going in with. The committee met last week, Joe and Kenneth and I and Terry and the rest of the committee. We have a dance school with like excellent credit. I mean, already got 50. They're meeting in the Duncanville Recreation Center right now. So they didn't have their own place, but it appears to be an excellent tenant. In fact, we had two really good tenants, and I think city manager and mayor, some of them got a letter from a health club, another group that also had good credit. So we had two really good people to choose from, and it was really hard, but we were able to get the dance studio in DeSoto, and then we put the health club in. It used to be an old church space in the center. And so the health club, we got them both. We don't have them both in DeSoto, but the health club has got their own entry. So we really got a win-win situation there. We got a couple of little office suites available, but for the most part, everything is pretty good. We still struggle with the same things: opening hours, stocking your store. It's all Terry and I were just talking a minute ago. It's all the basics, and it's the reason we're here. Is teaching and so we in fact, and one of the things I've started saying when people call, if you're not making something in your space with your hands, I mean, if you're not working with your hands, I'm saying, look, this is probably just not the right place, because they go crazy if you're just sitting there waiting for customers. In the modern retail world, I think is this way too. The modern retail world is kind of a quasi-manu. It's not Amazon or not Walmart or not. It's kind of this maker that's displaying the stuff. It's people making wigs, making candles. It's the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. It's.
We don't want them slaughtering animals.
Yeah,
I prefer that.
Maybe not the butcher. The butcher just sounds good, but the butcher would be okay in their own store. It'd be nice to have a butcher in town, right?
Yeah.
There is one up in Oak Cliff that's called Cooper's that really is. It's great. It's old-fashioned butcher. So it's really good. It'd be great to have one in town somewhere that kind of business. Excuse me?
Is Rinco still open?
Well, no, they still are open. That's right. We do have one. I'm sorry. We sure do. Yeah, we do. Yeah, and they're pretty good too.
Great turkey legs.
Yeah, I forgot about that. They've been here forever. They've been here. We forget about them.
There's so much on it.
So I think that's really about it. We have fixing to write you a check for Joe for about $70,000. Rick said he'll write you a check this week.
Great.
$70,000. So
Awesome. Any directors, you have any questions for Monty or anything about the incubator?
Actually, I do have a question. I ran into a business owner, minority business owner yesterday. Lynn's, I think it's Lynn's Beauty Supply, right on Hampton and Wintergreen. And I was a little disheartened by the conversation. It was primarily around not knowing what's going on in DeSoto. And it took Governor Abbott, I think, to actually reference them before they could actually get some traction. They claimed they had reached out to your group in particular, the chamber. They reached out to the new mayor, until Governor Abbott kind of highlighted the business, small business. They weren't getting any phone calls. They haven't gotten any direction or guidance on how to get any information on how to grow their business. And I think that's kind of the objective of the DEC. Not just the incubator in itself, but the facility that they're in. It's a small little strip center. And it almost sounds like they would be ideal for the incubator. They just don't know.
Rather than be in their strip center.
Rather than being in a strip center location where there may be 5 to 6 parking spaces, and they were just kind of pleading for help, and I was just like, what's going on? What's being missed? Are they not? They didn't know about Miss Toomey. They didn't know, and they said that they had been reaching out to people in the city, and they just couldn't get any traction.
I don't know what they got to say, but I personally find that hard to believe. I mean, because I know what we're like personally involved with lots of people
Outside of the incubator.
from everywhere.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean,
Usually we're getting phone calls from people because they're local people. They know someone. Usually someone knows someone who knows us. And so we have reached out to people even if they're not members of the chamber. So I'm not saying that she's not telling the truth because I can't say that. But what I am saying is we work very hard to be part of that and to be a resource. But unfortunately, we don't know if you don't. I tell people all the time, if you're in your store all the time and you're just running your store and you're not doing anything outside in regards to networking outside of the store, then that's why people don't know who you are.
Yeah.
A lot of times people...
And the husband actually mentioned that, and he said that his wife was out at something that happened last weekend with the mayor.
Last weekend was the
Juneteenth weekend, and she said that she had reached out and she had finally saw the mayor, and she said that she actually talked to the mayor and said, hey, you've been promising to come by the store, so here we are, and they had their exchange, however that situation went. But my question, I guess, to the board and others is what more should they be doing? Because they're saying exactly what you're saying. We've done the legwork. We've communicated with other like businesses in the area and said, let's try to network. Let's try to get in front of the people. They're in the store. They're doing exactly what you're telling me.
Are they used to there at Hampton and Wintergreen?
Right there.
Are they the
they're
KC's?
They're near Casey's. It's Lynn's Beauty Supply. It's the one at the very end.
On the other side of the donut shop?
I don't know if that's I just go specifically there.
I know where you're talking about. And I can attest that if they reached out to anybody in the city, they refer me immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get it too. And I know for sure the city manager and the mayor and Joe and all. I know the mayor is personally involved. I mean, she's very,
Well, she
very active
definitely
with.
mentioned the past mayor, for
And
sure.
all the rest of us are too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the owner of Options Real Estate, okay, but I'm personally involved with the tenants at the Grove DeSoto and other places. If somebody calls and says we want help, we're either referring to the chamber or to Terry or if the city manager. I can tell you right now, if you go get a certificate of occupancy or you're getting a building permit or something, I mean, you get
stuff from us.
This is the best I've ever seen it. So I would just say reach out to us, all of us personally.
But I will fix that after this meeting. I don't mind doing that in regards to if she feels that way, I can do that.
That would be wonderful.
I can do that. That is not a
I
problem.
couldn't give you, and I'm first to critique cities and stuff, but I can tell you right now, I just couldn't tell you what, if I said, you can do this better, Joe, or Brandon or something, I couldn't tell you what it would be right now. I couldn't tell you what it would be.
Well, they're talking about leaving. That's the part
Well,
that
and here's the thing.
bothers me the most.
And we need to address that. No matter what happened in the past, how it was done in the past, whatever the ball got dropped somewhere, we can fix that.
Okay.
I can't stop them from leaving,
Right.
but I will have a conversation with them in regards to that.
And just one last thing is, the claim is that 40% of their foot traffic is driving from West Dallas because that's where she's from. That's where the owner's wife is from.
And so here's my thing. Very good point. But if that's where she's from and she's talking to her people she knows there, and she's asking them to come to their business to DeSoto, so they're coming from West Dallas because they know her. She's involved in stuff in West Dallas. She's involved in her community there. She's involved. That's the kind of thing. If she wants DeSoto to support her in that, she's going to have to do the same thing. And I know she's a business
And I was
owner.
about to say, we're not going to assume that she's not.
Well,
I'm just sharing with you what
yes.
she shared with me.
And we can have that conversation in regards to that.
That would be great.
I can do that.
Tell you what, let's, if we could maybe, if you have her name and number that you could share with Kenneth, that'd be awesome. And Terry, if you
And
could
I'll
even give her a
stop-
call,
I'll stop into.
because you're an incredible resource, that'd be awesome. Thank you, Monty. Appreciate it. I
And I buy my
find it,
phone from KC, so I'm always in there.
find it hard that Monty would ever critique any city. I find that unbelievable. Really not.
We're going to pray for you on that one. We're going to pray for you on that one. Not him, but he will tell the truth.
For
Yes.
Monty to say that this is the best it's ever been, that's Brandon and our city councilman, that should take that as quite a compliment.
I recorded.
You did.
We're going to need to hear that again.
That's right.
We need to hear that again.
Thank you, Wendy. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's-
Thank you, ma'am.
That's good information, because we always want to bring those things, those concerns.
Yeah.
We don't want any business to feel like they're not significant or not hurt. So that's great.
Thank you.
Financial status report as of May 31, 21. Presentation by our own Melissa Adams.
Directors, this starts on page 44.
Good morning, board and everyone.
Good morning.
And my report starts on page 44. Good morning. And we'll start with the balance sheet as of May 31st, 2021. Current assets are $3,886,277. Checking and savings is $3,879,316. And we have one last revolving loan of $6,961. And our liabilities and fund balance is $3,886,277. If you go on to page 45, that is the revenue and expenditures through May 31st. Revenues, sales tax is $1,692,860. Incubator rent is $233,011, and interest of $6,167, with a total revenue of $1,932,038. Total expenditures are $1,505,105. Operating and admin accounts for $524,255. Long-term debt is $249,700, and grants and commitments are $716,461, with a net income of $426,933. On page 46, that is your revenue and expenditures month-to-date and year-to-date. Total revenues for the month of May is $369,136. Sales tax is $334,644, and incubator rent is $34,104. For your expenditures, it's $54,846. Operating and admin is $56,261. And your net income for the month is $314,290. If you go on to page 47, that is the detail of your revenue and expenditures for May year to date. Does anyone have any questions on the detailed report?
Think you're good? Appreciate that.
And that's on page 47, and it carries over to page 48. 49 is, page 49 is your month-to-date versus your year-to-date detailed reports. Does anyone have any questions on those figures? And then if we go on to page 51, that is the Grow DeSoto Marketplace, month-to-date versus year-to-date revenue and expenditures. For the month of May, the incubator rent was $34,104. Operating and admin was $36,858, with a net loss of $2,753. And for the year to date, the total revenue is $233,011, with expenditures of $288,147, with a net loss of $55,136.
One thing I'll mention now, we can tell, after 8 months, we're going to go way over in utilities, which we've already spent $137,099 of our $150,000 that we budgeted. It's just very expensive running that incubator. That's basically utilities and sweeping the floors, those type of things. Some things are set, like the rent and the taxes and insurance. That's what we show. Brook Hollow, that's the shopping center. In case you're confused about what it's called, but Brook Hollow is the incubator.
I have a question, Joe. So we're halfway through the year, and we're already about 90% into what the budget is.
We are 8 months into the year.
8 months, okay, I'm sorry.
This is through 8 months. And that particular item, I just wanted to let you know we definitely will go over budget because we haven't even hit the hot summer months yet. We didn't have a whole lot to go on the previous year because we weren't open a full year, and we just pulled a number out of the air. Really, it's kind of hard judging utilities, but I just wanted everybody to be aware. Some things it's just like Monty just said, we're trying to get another $70,000, which is really going to help us as far as the income level. We're getting a lot more. I should have mentioned while Monty's here. We're getting a lot more activity in the DeSoto marketplace. I had 3 applications come in this weekend. When an application, if you fill out one online through the DeSoto.org website, it automatically comes to me. I immediately forward it on to Monty, Lena at his office, just to me, and hey, Mayor. And so that's the process. And then if it's something that like we had 2 people last week that wanted one space, and so we let them pitch to a committee. Mayor's normally there. She weighed in. She couldn't make that particular meeting, but she weighed in on what she thought would be the best fit for that the old gym space. But that's the process we go through with the incubator. A lot of people think that they get to stay there forever. We really don't want that. I mean, we really want to be there. With pandemic, I'm saying 3 and 4 years. I used to say 2 or 3 years, and then be doing well enough that you can stand on your own, that you can go out in the community. That's the goal. It's not to have somebody there for 10 years, even though our lease is for 10 years, by the way.
So is that what's being shared with the tenants? They understand that this is the objective.
They understand we're there to help them to grow their business, but we tell them when they first start off that we're not responsible for all your marketing. You've got to do your own. You've got to generate your own traffic. Ms. Toomey will go over that in a minute, but that's we try to be upfront and honest with them. But there's some people think they're going to stay there for 10 or 15 years. That's definitely not our goal. Our goal is to grow our own and expand the economy and find somebody else to fill that spot.
And that's the way the incubator is marketed, though.
That's how we tell them going in, and how we tell them to do their own marketing. Even though we put some money in marketing, we do some things. We supply Ms. Toomey with a contract to hold her hand and help them with their business plan or whatever. And not just the incubator. I mean, she does it anyone in the city. So her services are available for anyone. So everyone that's watching knows.
Going back to the utilities.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
Okay.
Going back to that, so I know we had little data to establish a run rate or extrapolate from. How much are we anticipating to go over?
It's hard to tell. Like I said, we budgeted $150,000. We've already spent $137,099. I'm guessing, 225, maybe 75,000 over what we budgeted, maybe more, maybe less. But going into the hot summer months, it's expensive.
So you think the spike is because of we're almost 100% occupancy?
Yeah, that could be part of it. We have some people that, some people are there a lot. Even when they're closed, they're in there working or doing whatever. They can come and go even when the doors are locked. They have a code that they can get in. But we've got people that, are not showing up. That's our biggest problem, just like Monty said. They look at it as a hobby, I guess, or one told me, he said, well, I don't have enough business to hire someone to be there, and I have to work somewhere else, to be able to stay there. We're not going to renew their lease. If they're not going to be there, we're not going to renew their lease. We can kick them out because they're breaking the contract, but the reality is we'll try to work with them as much as possible. We hold their hand. We do everything we can to save them, but we can't save everyone. That's just a fact.
So with the
Occupancy.
Oh, yeah, occupancy.
So if they're there more, then
then
electricity is going to be even more.
Yeah.
So
In the budget number for next year, though, have you adjusted that number?
I have not adjusted that number yet. I don't think
You need to.
We'll be going over the budget a little bit, but we probably need to do that.
adjust that. Yeah.
Rent. Last year we took such a hit because the board said, if you can't pay your rent, we'll just add it onto the end of your lease and let you not pay, or if you pay part of it. And we had a lot doing that, and that hurt us somewhat. But we're doing a lot better than I thought we would actually, especially since he gives us another $70,000 in rent. And that puts us way over the budget. We already over, but we only budgeted $195,000 for income, and we're already at $233,11.
So that should offset some of that expense.
So there's
Or the only way to increase our income in the incubator is to fill those spaces or increase rent. There was a discussion this last couple weeks about rent and who sets rent. If we need to increase rent in order to balance that, we spend a lot of time on the ultimate expense of that incubator annually. At this point, it's going to be what? $90,000, $150,000. I mean, to us, to the board,
overall?
Right.
Oh God, we're going to lose. I don't know. We're in the red right now, $55,136.
80% through the year.
So it's 8 months into the year, but we don't have the $70,000 that's coming in. But my goal was to break even on that. We've never thought it was ever going to pay us back all the money that the EDC and the city put into the remodeling it, putting all the utilities in. That was very, very expensive.
But then what I hear you saying is, Joe, that probably it's going to cost us about $25,000.
$25,000. You mean net?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's going to be a lot more than that. I think. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, like I said, the $70,000 coming in, but we'll know more next month.
Okay.
We'll be able to kind of
The
project them out.
budget has an operating loss of $230,000. Is what the budget is what the budget has on there. Now, based on where we are right now, with a higher, obviously you have some higher rents, you'll have some higher costs for utilities. You may be closer to that number than
So the issue then, so that there's a big difference between what I hear we've lost and
Well,
What we projected.
yeah. What Monty is not, he's talking about just rent and we take in everything. And this sheet, the city does this last sheet because we want things like Ms. Toomey's expenses and other things that we that the EDC is paying for that doesn't come directly out of Monty's operation. He collects the rent and sets the rent, but we can deviate from it. We've got somebody that didn't want a $100 increase in their rent, and we're trying to work it out. But we just felt like we've got to slowly raise some rents out there to make sure that we break even, and that's our goal.
So $250,000, that's a $250,000 loss on the incubator is a big deal. If that warrants the discussions that we have every month. A break-even perspective doesn't warrant the discussions we have every month, if that makes sense to me. We spend a lot of time talking about this incubator every single meeting, and it's one building, and now it has multiple little businesses in it, but if we're going to break even, then that's a plus for us. That's a bonus. That's a win for the city. If it's $250,000, then I understand how we continue to come back to discuss this month after month after month.
Sounds like the city's losing money and the business owners themselves are losing money.
Some are, some aren't. Some of them doing well in there. The restaurants seem to be doing pretty well. Some of the little retailers that specialize and advertise well and are there to greet their customers, and they seem to be doing all right. Mayor, you can weigh in on this. You're on the committee, and the mayor was one of the instigators that started the it's all her fault.
I'll try to keep my comments concise because just coming back, I'm getting a feel. But as Joe mentioned, entrepreneurship and just the spirit of small business in DeSoto is one that I take very, very seriously in terms of how we foster that in our community. And so I was one of the, I would say, co-creators of this small business incubator. And Brandon and I have talked about this, Mayor Pro Tem and I have talked about this along with, I think, Monty and some individuals, different individuals. And there are a couple of task forces, ad hoc committees that we're putting in place. And I'll actually be doing my first 100 days overview this week in terms of what we've been able to accomplish and some things we've set the foundation for coming into office for my administration. One of those is a small business incubator. When we set out to do that, there are a few things in terms of the original intent of that incubator that I do believe, I think it's been successful overall because there really was no model that we were following. We were kind of creating something of our own. However, I do believe with the original intent of what we were planning to do there and how we were planning to do it, there was supposed to be two parts in terms of actually allowing them to operate, but also having their formal structure in terms of a curriculum to be able to answer some of these questions that we're continuously having on how are the actual business owners doing, the time they were supposed to be there. It was supposed to be a time cap in terms of that. And there were supposed to be many things, and I have the original PowerPoint. I've shared that with Brandon, shared it with Mayor Pro Tem, and I would love to be able to share it with the board because we are approaching that 5-year mark that the board gave when we originally started out in terms of gauging how we're going to do this. Are we going to renew the lease, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's something, of course, President Crone will be bringing back to your desk in terms of who would comprise this committee, so we can review every aspect of it again since we're approaching the 5-year mark to see, so we don't continue to have these conversations without a lot of concrete answers, and to see how we can improve upon it, kind of more of a debriefing to see what's working really well. Mayor Pro Tem was with me in Ohio last week. My ordination, that was in Ohio last week. However, we had a chance to look at North Market, and it gave us a lot of really good ideas. We talked with a lot of individuals. Our information is supposed to be getting to the executive director. They actually have 2 locations for that, so we're hoping to hear back from them to see if we can possibly get some things that we could implement here in DeSoto that would help to improve upon and make that space as best as it could be to maximize it for the entrepreneurs as well as for the city and for the DDC, because again, this is a public-private partnership. So we want to make sure we're able to account for where every dollar of our taxpayer money is going in terms of that particular project. We don't want to be able to continue to have meetings and not be able to answer these questions in that regard. And we want to have data, right, to be able to gauge is this being a success or not. So to make a short story long, that's kind of where we are, but you guys will be hearing more from me in terms of, like I said, putting together that committee so that we can actually see. I've also actually talked with Dr. Seabrooks there at Dallas College, and I may be speaking too soon, so hopefully I'm not. But we have some really exciting things in terms of the Goldman Sachs program that he and I have talked about in terms of our entrepreneurs, and not just the entrepreneurs there in the incubator, but just expanding that program to DeSoto. I was actually supposed to be a part of that Goldman Sachs program every year almost, and for some reason or another was not able to participate because of time and convenience of the programming. So he and I are talking about a way that we can make that particular program more convenient for our entrepreneurs here in the city of DeSoto. It's that program is actually comparable to getting an MBA, to be quite honest, in terms of the quality of the curriculum of that particular program. So we would love to be able to offer that in conjunction to what we're doing and revamping some things in the incubator. So we've been having a lot of meetings, lots of talking to a lot of people again that can help to make the resources that we provide for our entrepreneurs more accessible, especially coming out of the pandemic. I think that's one of the things that kind of rose to the top in terms of priorities for me, is how can we provide more resources for our small business owners to help them to get back on their feet in whatever way possible that we can. So
Mayor, I think we're on the same page.
Sure.
At our last meeting, I recommended that we reevaluate,
Sure.
program, and so I think we need to have a coordinated effort.
Right.
We don't need to be doing it in the city, doing it, so if we can have a coordinated
Sure,
effort.
and we definitely, and I have several community members, several business owners that have stepped up to say that they would love to be a part of it. So we can definitely talk more about who would be best suited, or what skill sets or point of views do we need to be on their board to make sure that we maximize their time as well.
I think we'll be able to go into much more detail when we do our board retreat. Our new exec suggested the end of July for that, so at a regular July meeting, just take a whole day and see if we can work out some of these things.
Sure.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. We want to welcome also. We didn't say Michelle.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you this morning. Glad you're here. Didn't welcome you when you got here, so I want to make sure we do that. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate it. I know. She always does a great job. We just kind of assume Michelle since she does such a great job for it. We appreciate her work. Next on our agenda is number 3, City Council Liaison Update regarding city events, meetings, etc. by our own Mayor Pro Tem Andre Burton.
Thank you, President Crone, and welcome, Mayor Proctor. Congratulations on your ordination.
Thank you.
And she said everything I was going to say. No, I'm playing. We want to thank Joe Newman, as well as our city manager, Brandon Wright, and the mayor. You guys probably have read in the paper that Heritage House Coffee Lounge is coming to DeSoto. That is a big deal for us. That answers the requirements of our citizens to have a quality of life, economic development. And it happened through our relationship and through partnership with Joe and Brandon, the mayor, and other council members. We met her through a banking partner, friend of mine, and she's here. She's excited about it. There's about 4 or 5 other deals that we're happening. But I think that as far as the city council, that is my job. I believe Brandon will bring up, we all know that there is a vote that's coming up. And I think that's the big deal in July. I would ask you I wish I could share more information. I'm not sure what changed the tide on that. Sometime I was at a dinner a couple of weeks ago, and they said that we legislate to the minority, and I'm not sure if that is probably a correct perspective. Sometimes we legislate to the loudest, and not to the populace, and not to the people. Those who make the most noise are the ones who get our attention. And if we're running for re-election, if we're doing other things, we kind of cater to those people. That is not the way it should be. But I would just say that as board members and as citizens, you have a right to talk to your city council. You have a right to inquire what changed between February 23rd and now. You have a right to hold us accountable for those positions because February 23rd, it was unanimous. It was set in line with the rest of the city, the way that we do business in the rest of the city, the $50,000, and that's what I'm talking about. The $50,000.
I was just going to ask you to clarify
Yes,
exactly what it was.
yeah.
I'm sorry, the $50,000 mark,
Threshold.
and now they want to make anything that you do come for council. It will bottleneck the opportunities to get business and to run business by, because most of those facade grants are done for that facade grants line signs, to make our city beautiful and as somewhat of an incentive to bring people here. And if it's going to add another month or another 2 months to that process to do such a small level of business, $50,000 when you think of it, a global budget of $110 million, $50,000 is a drop in the bucket. And the minds around this table understand that business perspective of that. So I will say I wish I could be more pointed. I can't because I don't know what changed. I don't know what changed between February and now. It seemed to be a big change, and so maybe a minority group got to some people. I don't know, but I will say that reach out to your city council representative. Let your voice be heard. Don't be silent. Don't just go away quietly. Sometimes when we're comfortable, it's easy to look the other way. It's easy to say, "Oh well, it doesn't matter." But this does matter. It took us 4 months to bring Heritage House to here. When Bishop Arts was pulling for her, Frisco was pulling for her. All of these other places was pulling for her. And we were able to bring her here and with the facade grant. Now, had it taken, 4 months just to get that approved, it would have limited our ability to attract her. And we have four other very plausible groups in line. Again, it limits our ability. The bureaucracy limits. There needs to be accountability. There must be accountability. But I think since Joe's been at the helm, every audit have been outstanding. And I don't think our citizens really understand that what happened prior to Joe getting intact. Every audit's been excellent. The tightening up on the rules and regulation just on daily operations. Now your checks are controlled and operated by the city, who have excellent audits. So we cannot keep going back and reliving the hurt of the past. It's like an abused woman who keep wanting to go back, and you got a good man now, you keep wanting to bring back what the old dude did. This is a new age. We have a new opportunity. The citizens have clearly given us a mandate to move forward, and that's absolutely what we need to do. So that's my deal. I would say stay tuned, reach out, whatever your opinions are, but to say that this group is not qualified. I mean, Dr. King I'm looking around this table. We have a Harvard graduate. We have a pastor of 5,000. We have Dr. King. We have people who are very successful. To say that you're not, to question your integrity in the ability to grant $50,000, and when every other director within our organization have that same right, the absolute same right, is an insult. And I think that if the tides change, we will be setting our city back. So thank you for the platform. But that's really what's going on.
Thank you for your.
I hope I'm not out of line, Madam Mayor. I apologize.
Thank you for your support, and as a board member, I'm not sure where we're going, and that issue really had major concerns about it, because what is our role here? And if we can't make a decision on signage or whatever, then and has to go before city council, then why are we here? We don't need to be here.
And can I address that? We hide behind transparency, but there's a difference between transparency and accountability and natural flow of information. Transparency, right now we're being televised, it's being recorded. A citizen at any point can go back and look at this and know exactly what was said, when was said, how it was said. Anything over a certain dollar amount requires a public hearing. I don't know how much transparent we can get. Now, for me, it translates from transparency to integrity. So what happened in the council's integrity that says that we go from a 7-0 vote to now questioning the decision when nothing has changed? So, yeah.
I actually have a question, Mayor Pro Tem. What's next? What's next with this whole change? Because it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. And I'm going to second what Member King said, because I don't have a lot of time to waste.
I will say that what's next will depend on you.
Okay.
And if we as citizens, and I will say that globally, if we as citizens and let a small minority or whatever make this rise up again, be the only vocal voice, then I don't know. I don't know what other thing they're not going to like that they're going to get steam behind. But if you do what the system is created to do, if you reach out to your council person and get them to, someone called me and asked me to justify my vote on certain things. I work for them, I'm accountable. If you reach out to your people and say, can you tell me what happened from February the 23rd to now? Why have your position changed? Have we done something wrong? What are you trying to mitigate now? What has happened in the last 3 years? Are we still relitigating what happened before we made all of these necessary changes? It was made that they have no confidence in the board. Well, some of those same council members that was on the board when that happened now. And we appoint you. If I could be, I'm sorry, I'm not a politician. So I'm not very worried about being reelected. I am a servant of the Lord and I'm a servant of the people, which means that you speak truth to power. And the truth is, I would like to know what changed. I would like to know what's in the future, because it's hard for me and Joe and I, and we make good partners. Don't we are out. I'm Joe's assistant director. I'm out working and buying lunch on my own dollar. I'm just doing it because this is our city. But then to have it come back and then have the rug pulled from under what we all voted unanimously on is a little, I don't know. So let me be transparent. I don't know. But I will say that as citizens, you have a right to reach out to your representative. You have a right to say, why are you doing this? What changed? Please help me understand. What more could we mitigate? Because what we're really doing is says that if Heritage House, who's coming, who had a beautiful article in the Dallas Morning News, if she's coming and you guys were able to approve her signage, I think you did it last time, right? You approved her sign. That, whatever you gave her, $5,000, that now has to come to City Council. And the way that it's set up, whatever Parks and Recreation does have to come to you. You got to approve it. Then that have to come to City Council. And I'm thinking, man, we got bigger fish to fry.
So that's how it works. So that's officially changed.
No, it has not changed. That's why I'm saying you have until July the 6th.
Okay, well, I'm not a politician either, so I'm not being reelected. This is the point I'm trying to make. If that happens, then you'll have another seat to fill, because I won't be doing this.
Yeah.
So I'll make that statement publicly.
Yes, ma'am.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, and drum up your support. I drum up your support. Drum up your support. Your neighbors, your friends, whoever want to see DeSoto move to the next level, get the support. And I'm probably going to get fired from my job, but that's okay.
Especially with the mayor here.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to hold my mule. That's an old preacher term.
If the council wants to control it, there's another way. They can appoint themselves up to 4 of them can be on this board. That's
Well, the bylaws that we approved don't allow for that in their current state.
okay. Yeah. But state law.
I appreciate Mayor Pro Tem. I appreciate you using the word insult, because I think there's not a member of this board that would use that same word, insult, as a result of the motion and the vote of the City Council. I was there that evening, and I think I'll tell you what happened. City Council members didn't read their packet, and they made assumptions that were inappropriate assumptions based on their ignorance as a result of not reading, because that threshold has always been a part of this reconfiguration from a type A to a type B. So their desire to control was an assumption they made without reading their packet. They voted unanimously, and as a consequence of that unanimous vote, they went, wait, what's changed? Well, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. And I want to say, I think I'm with Wendy. If the council wants to control, which it appears publicly that they do want to control this board, they can choose to do that. I would suggest that's not a good idea, because I've said privately and I'll say publicly, the feelings of this community toward the DDC now is not that much different than the feelings they have toward our city council. It's not that they trust our city council any more than they trust this board. This board is a qualified, able board that has put in place policy and procedure to safeguard any theft that we've experienced in the past. And I just want to clarify something really quickly as the president. We keep going back to the way the community views this board and what Joe has put in place, policy and procedure to protect the board. I appreciate Joe. Everybody knows that I do. He's done an incredible job here. And I'm sad to see him leave. I've said that publicly. But when Quarles committed the acts that he was convicted of committing, we have had since then a consultant, part-time. Well, let me go back before that. We had a full-time CEO that was a good guy. We're still Facebook friends, Mr. Cheatham, right? So we had a full-time guy. Then we had a consultant. Then we had Joe as a part-time consultant. Then we've had Joe as a full-time guy. So there have been 4 people seated in that office since Jeremiah Quarles. So that's not just recent history. That's ancient history now at this point. So all that to say, I think Wendy has spoke for me that, and for Michelle and for Ms. Delva, at least, that you know the consequence of whatever decisions made in that next, which, again, one of the things that I worked at hard, and I think you know that, I want to support the city. I want us to be a functioning, productive arm of the economic engine of DeSoto. If I don't feel I can do that, there's not and I'm not a politician, there's not a reason for me to be here. I have lots of better things to do on a Monday morning for 3 or 4 hours. And I think we're all sort of there. So you can take that back to the council and just let them know, we want to work with the city. We want to be productive economic partners with the city. If we don't feel that we can do that, then, we can do other things. And
President Trump, let me just say, I understand your sentiments. Again, this is I'm honored to be the liaison for such a high-ranking board, with the brain power, and I hear your thought process. I would be lying to you if I told you I wasn't afraid for our city, nervous and scared, because irrational decisions will stop economic development. It absolutely will.
That's absolutely right.
And our citizens need to know it, but I will, if I could, respectfully push back to each board member and say that since you live here, you have the obligation to reach out to your circle and drum up good trouble. John Lewis, generate good trouble and let your voice be heard to your council person. Absolutely. Because if they're only hearing from one side, we play to those who scream the loudest. Sometimes the bad kid get all the attention. But in my opinion, this would be bad for the city. As a councilman, I don't micromanage. If we have a board, let the board be the board.
Exactly.
We put in every precaution that we should put in. There are certain ones that say, well, this is what's happening in other cities. DeSoto is unique, and that's one of the things that we are not any other city. And it's been proven by us surviving the pandemic on top. Not on the bottom. Had we been every other city around us tanked, we ended on top because we had smart men and women in the city as well as in this room. This board, the heliport, those citizens hate the warehouses. Those warehouses, the heliport, those things saved our behinds. And the citizens don't really understand that. And now we're getting ready to really focus on quality of life, economic development. And to bring someone to this table and say that we can get something done with one meeting, they already have to wait 30 days. And so now they have to wait 30 days plus another 30 days to get it on the council agenda in order to approve something that's less than $50,000 is ludicrous for those of us who do business. That's a waste of time and power. So please note that I can speak for me. And we appreciate the heart, we appreciate the work, we appreciate, but it's our city as well. So do what you have to do to fight for your city.
I hear your message.
I agree. No, we got the message, and I wrote down loudest. There's Arthur and I. We're enough. We can be loud, right? So if that's what it takes, I've already spoken to my city council person, and we'll continue to talk it up because we think this board thinks it's a bad decision. I think I can speak for all of the rest of us. All right, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Real quick, can we, since we're on this topic, can we? It is on number 9 on here regarding actually what is being brought back to this council for consideration for this. We thought we'd just do a quick update of that for the board. The board wants to know, and Christoph needs to leave here in a few minutes, so if that's all right, Christoph.
Yep. So I can just pass this out. This is the new language that's proposed for the bylaws. It's on the second page. It didn't run the whole thing, just that's actually on page 2.
And while he's doing that, I will emphasize these right now are the proposed changes. This is basically when we had the city council work session a few weeks ago. This was the consensus of the council for us to bring back at that time. So, as you know, we worked off of the consensus of the council. The council was interested in exploring that language that says essentially all grants, incentives, and projects be after recommendation from this board comes to city council for approval. Right? What is different about that from the current environment is that right now there's a $50,000 threshold. Everything over $50,000 requires city council approval. After you, everything under that is within your purview. Okay, the part that was under that was what would change, and that everything would be under the purview of the council after recommendation from this board. Okay, so go ahead and take it from there.
Yeah, so that's on the second page of this. You can see that the red there is the change. The language that is there currently is crossed out and replaced. We wanted to clarify 2 things. One is that the board operates under the same policies that are applied to the rest of the city. So that's the first piece there. All expenditures of the corporation shall be administered by the city subject to all policies and procedures, so that we have those safeguards in place. The corporation does not undertake any authorized projects. So really it focuses on 3 things: project agreements, incentive agreements, and grant agreements would go back to council under this proposed change. And that was the change that was requested by council at that time.
So, board, this will be on our agenda at the 26th of July, I believe, our next meeting. They'll have it okayed at city council level, but it also has to be approved. It doesn't have to be approved here?
It does not have to be approved.
Really?
Under a type B, this is a change that the council can make on its own.
Okay. I've never heard that.
And so it would be a council action. I do actually need some signatures, however. I've got your attention. I've been trying to get some of these signatures from documents that we've passed in the past. I need signatures from you on a couple of these in the back, and then everybody else needs to sign the one in the front. So I'm going to hand it to you first, so you get the 2 in the back. And if you
These are the
original.
original bylaws and the transition documents that we passed during the last meeting. The transition plan.
So Brandon, excuse me, Mr. Wright, this particular item, when it comes to us in July, is going to be in the format of a public hearing?
No, it won't be a public hearing, but anyone can speak on it.
Of course they can speak on it, but I'm just making sure we understand the format that it's going to be presented under.
It'll just be under the regular agenda. It'll be presented as a resolution, I believe.
Correct.
Yes.
It won't be on a consent agenda then?
Oh, no. Okay.
But this is already a done deal.
No.
No.
Okay.
That's
No.
Okay. All right.
No, nothing was done.
And I will speak in terms of that because I did vote in line with my colleagues. However, during that moment, because having recently ran for election, I do know, and I can't, of course, I would never make an absolute statement to try to generalize how the community as a whole feels. However, I do know that there are still some concerns with our community in terms of what happened and how that moves forward, and just there is still some rumblings. I won't say it's completely went away and that it's just old news and we don't have to worry about it anymore. I think the community did lose a lot of trust in elected leadership, and I wouldn't even say that it really was more so at this board. I'm going to take the responsibility in terms of council, and if any of you were around at that time, I think it goes without saying on how I felt about the situation and what was happening, and that was exhibited through my actions during that time. So I won't belabor that. However, it was very important to me because of the issue, and I guess maybe I took it more personal when this issue came up. Honestly, it did catch me a little off guard because I didn't think it would even be a thing in terms of this, because it is in line with everything else we do in terms of the threshold and so forth. And that's why I did challenge my council members to read your packet, read the attachments. All of that's important. We can't just go off of a slideshow that staff presents to us and think that we've gotten the gist of everything that it entails. And I read the bylaws and I saw the $50,000, and it never popped out to me, and it never lit anything in me because it's in line with everything else we do. So to hear that it was a concern of council members honestly caught me a bit off guard. And so I did vote in line with that just because of my personal feelings about the matter in terms of what I assumed was being pointed to in terms of things that have happened with the DEC board in the past. However, my challenge to them was to read. Secondly, it was to make sure that this comes back around to us for review again very, very soon, because I don't see it as being necessary in terms of, like you said, you used the term micromanage. I'm going to take that term from you. And I, like everyone else in the room, I'm not a politician. I just want it to be right. I want it to be in order. And I want us to work together to make sure that we are the best that we can be. And I don't think, as you mentioned, Pastor Crone, that we can do that apart from one another. Because at the end of the day, we all have the same last name. And when DeSoto hits the news, it doesn't matter if it's the DDC board, it doesn't matter if it's the school district, it doesn't matter who it is, it's DeSoto. So we all have to work together. And that's one of the things that you have a commitment from me on as mayor, is to make sure that we are bringing each other together, looking at how we can maximize our relationships and leverage everything that we do here in the city. So I just wanted to make that clear if anybody did not watch the last meeting. Those are my challenges to my council members. However, I do know from a community standpoint, having talked with the community has not forgotten. It still stings a little bit for a lot of the community in terms of what happened. It just based on things that were shared with me in terms of sentiments of the community as it pertains to that situation. However, again, I like many in the room, don't believe that that's necessary to micromanage the board to that degree. Again, to bottleneck, and we've seen so much progress in terms of people wanting to do business in the city just in the few months that I've been mayor. We can't keep time on our calendars every week because people are coming here wanting to do business in the city of DeSoto. And I wish we could tell all the great things and all the things that are coming down the pipeline, and we will in time. However, I'm very proud to say that, people want to do business here. People want to come here. There's a new energy in the city. And so we don't want to put things in place, bureaucracy, that stifles those particular things. So I, for one, am going to definitely voice that at the meeting that is coming up as well. And again, as Mayor Pro Tem has said, encourage you all to do so as well.
Well, the resignation of your entire DDC board will make the news and will be loud if the vote goes through. So just so you know.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Manager, for taking us there to number 9. Now we have an update from our City Manager on hiring the new DDC Executive Director.
Is that tab 4 in your packet, Directors?
What page is that on?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have a tab. Oh, that must be. I don't think I numbered that page for some reason.
There's nothing there anyway.
Yeah.
52.
You're not going to learn anything if you go there.
52 is his little bio.
Well, I certainly want to just first of all thank everyone for your patience, your assistance during this transition period, which has been going on obviously for several months. Where one of the final steps of the process really was kind of getting to the point of replacing our retiring director, and Joe Newman, and again thanking him for all of his service to the community here, for the great job that he's done with this board. But also looking forward to bringing on the new person who is going to take us into the new phase of the DDC board and our development here. We had many great applicants who applied. We spent a good deal amount of time working through them, interviewing them, ultimately settling on Mr. Matt Carlson. Matt Carlson was coming to us from Parker, Colorado. He's been there for the last, I believe, 7 years. He's got over 20 years of economic development experience, really in leadership, being the director of economic development throughout his career. He will be coming on board tomorrow already. So we talked, and it just so worked out that he could start very, very quickly with that. So he's going to be here already tomorrow. We're excited. We were hoping maybe even today, but it just wasn't going to work out with his ability to get here that quick for it. So he'll be joining us tomorrow. We're going to have, and we're planning on having a small goodbye reception for Mr. Joe Newman, but also bringing on board, and we'll have Matt Carlson there as well. I believe the date for that was July 9th, if I remember correctly. It's on Friday, right?
Yeah, I just checked. I haven't heard back from him. If that's
okay,
if that's...
We'll confirm. We'll make sure that it works for him, and we'll get out some invites so everyone can come and have a small meet and greet and a goodbye, obviously, for Joe and for all that he's done for us. We're excited to have Mr. Carlson on board as we walk. So one thing I did with the last two candidates was I walk up and down Hampton Road with them. So we parked and we walked for, I don't know, an hour and a half or so up and down that road, and we just kind of shared ideas, right? You know, what are we doing? What do we want to accomplish here with that? I will say that Matt was tremendous in his ability to be able to see ideas, the future potential for and putting together policies, procedures, different programs that would help and aid us in being able to assist really in these new quality of life types of projects that we wanted to move forward with. I know he will do a fantastic job, but it's not just bringing on him, right? We've also been working on getting job or names in for job applications for the positions of the secretary position there, as well as a recruitment manager. So what we plan on having, once he starts on day one, he knows we're going to have a list of names for him available for him to start working through. So we're going to try and fill up that office. Joe has offered to stay on throughout the rest of the month of July at least. On this, and so we're going to have him on board with Matt at the same time, working side by side for the next 30 days or so while we kind of work through this transition. But I'm looking forward to the future of economic development here in our community. I think we've done a great job laying the groundwork for where it is that we want to go. Bringing up some new blood, filling up the office again with some people will go a long way, I think, to really making sure that we move DeSoto in the right direction.
Right.
Matt told me,
answer any questions.
Matt told me he would be watching this live. He's sorry he couldn't be here. I'm hoping he doesn't turn around and go back to Colorado. There were about 12 or 14 of us, I guess, interviewed the 13 candidates that it narrowed down to, and he certainly was impressive. I took a few notes. He was president and CEO of Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, Lincoln, Nebraska, staff of 31. Douglas, he was president there at Douglas County Chamber of Commerce, 850 members. I'm an ex-chamber guy. I was chamber, two different chambers for 10 years, so I'm a big chamber supporter. One of the things that impressed me when he was asked about the Type B economic development sales tax, he used to work as strategy consulting, and he had clients in Longview, Kerrville, and Wichita Falls, Texas. So he's not new to Texas. I mean, he knows Texas, and that was in the mid-90s, and consulting with several organizations in Texas about Type A and Type B corporations. So all those things combined, you know, I think we have a good guy for y'all. Yeah.
What interests, if I may, you're done, Joe?
I'm sorry?
You're done with your
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry,
okay.
yes.
What interests Matt in DeSoto?
Yeah, so he's interested in coming here to Texas. So he was kind of interested in getting this area. He has some family in the region with that, and really has just been wanting to start a new place, you know, and just kind of really begin a new chapter of his career here in Texas. So
it's a similar sized community. I wasn't familiar with Parker, Colorado, but it's about 55,000 population. I did look up their temperature last week. It's 64 degrees. It's going to be a shocker coming to Texas with the humidity here. But anyway, that's all I have unless y'all have questions.
yeah, we had a lot of great applicants really apply for the position, which was wonderful to have on that. Sometimes, you know, you go through the process, you're not quite sure you're going to have good candidates. We had multiple excellent candidates to work from. for this, and Matt really did shine through as just being the top candidate for our community.
Questions, directors? Anything else? All right, great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We will move on. Next, we have our own Kenneth Govan with the Chamber of Commerce update. Mr. Kenneth.
This is page 52 in your book, directors.
Good morning.
Good morning.
If y'all don't mind, I'm not gonna stand, I'm gonna sit down.
We mind.
You mind?
He's still a little sore. He totaled out his car the other day.
Help, we understand.
Yeah, I haven't had a good year.
His house burned down. He totaled his car. You know, this is just stay away from him.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I said, it's all how you look at it. Yes, I had my house to burn and I totaled my car. But I get a new house and a new car.
All right.
I get a new house and a new car.
Some positive.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to go over the activities for the Chamber of Commerce for the month of May. For the month of May. We're doing it in June. We did not have a Good Morning One DeSoto. For those of you who don't know, we've had a Good Morning DeSoto and a Good Evening DeSoto for years. Our chair now has decided we're going to use the One DeSoto as part of our tagline, and it's the Good Morning One DeSoto, or the Good Evening One DeSoto. We were in the middle of moving our office from our old location to our new location, so we did not have the scheduled Good Morning DeSoto. But we've actually revamped that, and we're going forward now. We had a very good one in June that was off the chain in regards to that, in regards to people being there. We've had two new members, State Farm agent Allison Founder, and the Hughes Group, which is City Councilman Hughes, who actually joined the chamber. In regards to events we had in regard for businesses, we had a restaurant revitalization. My major was accounting, so I got to help you in regards to that. Fun information session. That in regards to was talking to different restaurants in regards to what they're doing during the pandemic. How are they getting customers in? If it's more of how does it affect you if the governor says you don't have to wear a mask anymore, but then your staff says you do want to have masks? How is that going to affect your business in going forward? We've had some situations where the restaurant said they would feel better if people walked in who did wear masks, but then they had customers to walk in and said the governor says I don't have to wear that. And you don't want that to be an adversarial thing in regards to with your customers. So we talked with them in regards to how you feel. A lot of them just said they're going to have their staff wear masks while they're at work, or they have the little shield. I'm sorry, they have the little shield that comes down when they're placing their orders. So they're making a lot of different adaptations to make sure that they fit the community that we're in.
Now you have your restaurant revitalization funds. Are they receiving anything?
It's a fund that actually talks about what they can do in regards to applying for funds. Okay. They don't just automatically get it. But if you make a change and you want to have the little shield that comes down in front of you, you don't have the money for that. Small Business Administration actually has an application grant that helps you with stuff like that in regards to, because they're small business. We participated in the Hampton Road corridor discussion. What Hampton Road is going to look like. That was held by the city of DeSoto. We hosted the Leadership Southwest DeSoto Day. I want to thank our mayor. Mayor stepped in and actually was part of the tour. We have 38 community leaders from all the best Southwest communities. And from DeSoto, Cedar Hill, Lancaster, Glen Heights, Hutchins, we have one from Old Villa. But what we do, for those of you who do not know, Leadership Southwest is a leadership development program. It's a 9-month program that includes all of the best Southwest cities. What they do is we go around and we learn about the arts. We learn about economic development. We learn about public safety, education. And in May, we had this tour of DeSoto. We went to the heliport. We went to the Grow DeSoto Marketplace. I was going to give Brandon his credits. They did a very positive and very well-received presentation on the PID program that DeSoto has over here. The housing, how that housing is going to develop, how restaurants and retail are going to go right there by Thorntree. We actually had the lunch at Thorntree since it's back.
BBC paid for, by the way.
Very well received. A lot of people did not realize that Thorntree is a semi-private now. And they were like, I can have lunch here now? Yes, you can come have lunch here. You don't have to have a membership. Leadership Southwest, actually we hosted our board retreat, our board meetings at Thorntree Country Club. That is an area that they said, because Thorntree is the
Stop doing that.
I'm sorry. I talk with my hands. It's hard not to do that. Thorntree is a country club that everyone in the Best Southwest uses. But now that they can go, they can have lunch there. They can have dinner there. They can have breakfast there. They can go play tennis there. And we were looking at some of the aspects because they said, "Oh, we lost the pool. You didn't lose the pool. It's just being redone." So it was a lot of information that people outside of DeSoto didn't know that they want to come to DeSoto and partake now. Got a lot of positive responses in regards to the Grow DeSoto Marketplace. The mayor gave an excellent explanation in regards to what we do there, how we partner with small businesses, how we're the incubator that actually helps you start a business. And I don't remember who said it, but somebody said you're not supposed to be there forever. But we want you to learn exactly the information. Because Ms. Toomey was also part of the tour in regards to helping people understand how you start your own businesses. A lot of times, just like I was explaining with you, a lot of times people love to say, I can make a great pie, and I can sell this pie. And they're great at making a pie. But when it comes to running their business and the different aspects of it, accounting, in regards to networking, in regards to how do you put your name out there that you have these great pies, they're lost. And a lot of the things that they're lost about, Ms. Toomey helps them in regards to that, understanding that. How much money do you need to have? A lot of people will say, you know what, as long as I can pay my rent, I'm good. Well, you also have to pay yourself. And a lot of people really don't understand that I'm a business owner, so I shouldn't have to pay myself. You have to stay in business in regards to that. So there's a lot of things that we took the tour, and a lot of people were like, I wish they had this in my city. I wish they had done this when I first started my business. And so they want to send people over to the incubator in regards to saying, hey, this is a great program, let's start that. They didn't know DeSoto had that here. They had one guy still thought it was the Ace Hardware. He hadn't been, I said, you haven't been to DeSoto in a long time. But when we left there, we also went to the 911 center. And for those of you around the table, if you have not been to the 911 center, that is something that you need to know in regards to your city, because we do it for DeSoto, Duncanville, Cedar Hill. When you call 911, it comes right here to DeSoto, no matter what city you live in. They don't do Lancaster. But we had a simulation of someone doing a 911 call. They did a raffle, and one of the people in the class was able to do an actual 911 call, and you just make up a scenario in regards to how they handle it, what responses to say. And it was so neat. They have talents over there, because as the guy is talking, his foot operates one microphone, his hand operates another microphone, and he's able to talk to different people. If he pushes this microphone, he talks to this person. If he does this with this one, he talks to somebody else. But he's coordinating all those people in regards to an emergency. And the scenario that they put together was somebody had broken into this lady's house. She was stuck in her bedroom, but her daughter was in another bedroom, and she could hear somebody going through the house. And that's a scary feeling. But all that's coordinated, at that facility. So again, and they love to do the tours over there and explaining in regards to what they're doing over there. So if you haven't done that, that's actually a really good opportunity. We had two of our members to sponsor scholarships for two DeSoto ISD graduates. Access Self Storage right here on Hampton Road, Doug Hunt, and then South Toyota, Al Moten. They each did a $1,000 scholarship for a graduating senior at DeSoto High School. We actually brought the parents and the student to each one of those locations and took pictures and gave them the big check. One young lady was just extremely grateful. She received other scholarships, but she said, but because where she lived recognized her like that, she really did She just appreciated that. So, also Access Self-Storage, they have LED signs on their building, and they highlighted both of those students on that sign for the whole month. For those of you who do not know, the DeSoto Chamber of Commerce, we're having our golf tournament. We still call it our annual golf tournament, even though we didn't have one last year. For those of you who do or don't know, our current chairman, Chief Jones, he is an avid golfer. And he says he doesn't have to have a meeting all year, but he will have a golf tournament this year. So we're having it at Thorn Tree Country Club. It's going to be August 27th. So far, we have sponsors and we have teams that are already signing up, and they're really looking forward to that because we didn't have one last year. I wasn't able to attend, but Joe was able to. We had our grand opening for our new offices. And I love it. I love this address because we moved into the building in 2021, and our address is 2021 Northampton. So for those of you who did not have an opportunity, it's a beautiful office.
Where is that?
You know where the Genghis Grill is?
Oh,
It's the shopping. What's the Philadelphia cheesecake?
Right.
We are like 2 doors right. We're right in the center. If you want to, we are right in the center. We're gonna put we're working with SNS signs in DeSoto.
Restaurant.
You know what Brick House is?
What about the Mexican restaurant?
Oh,
You know what Ojeda's is?
Hey, right before you get to
Right before you get to Ojeda's.
yeah.
Yes.
I was thinking.
Yes.
I've never.
That's strip center.
Yeah.
Well,
It wasn't Genghis Grill. It wasn't
the
Genghis.
brand name, but it was.
Yeah, but it was like that. It was like that. Yes.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
telling me.
Yes.
That tells how long you've been
It
here.
really does. It really does. Yes. But we're doing that. The new offices are now open. We're starting something new. We're going to highlight. We're trying to go into different ways. A lot of chambers will highlight new members and members that are doing things with a newsletter and write about something like that. We have invested our incoming chair. Nina is a small business owner. She works for Bank of America as an investment counselor. Well, her thing is actually promoting women in small businesses. And what we're going to do differently in regards to this is that we have invested money into cameras, and we're going to do a podcast. We have a room in our new office where you can go in there, we can interview a new member. We can take that and we can take that on the road for ribbon cuttings. We can take that and we can honor if you're a chamber member and you're doing something different that you want to highlight, then we can actually take that to you. We can do a podcast. So we have new members that actually come and want to join the chamber. Instead of giving them a newsletter or giving them a card that they can go look, you can actually go out and we can have a podcast you can look at. You can see the things that we're doing. We can see the things that we're highlighting that business in DeSoto, and we can put your business out there in regards to that.
So is that information also on the website?
It's going to be on the website where you can go into the iPod podcast and see that, yes. So our president has made several different visits to different businesses. Before she, I'm so sorry. When she left, she actually was out for the last 2 weeks. She had surgery. And she's actually back in this morning, but I will get you her list in regards to businesses before she left.
Anybody have questions for Kenneth? Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And we have got your information. We have just talked in regards to that. Unfortunately, working where I work, I can have electricity on for 100 hours. But that last hour, the power's out, we're the worst company in the world. So their perception is their reality. I will make that phone call and I will fix that.
Okay. The tourism, what was that about?
We actually, here's the thing. Tourism usually where we have, at every quarter, we have meetings with the hotels. We haven't had that for this quarter because we haven't had that meeting yet. What we look at is we try to stay in contact because we have learned over the past 2 or 3 years, general managers at hotels go in and out. But a lot of times when people are coming into town, they may have a bad experience, maybe not at the hotel, they may have a bad experience at a restaurant. They may have a bad experience. The one that sticks in my head, people they were over here visiting with Solo Turban. They stayed at the Holiday Inn. They rented a car from Enterprise. They had a bad experience at Enterprise. Because of that bad experience at Enterprise, we had a bad time in DeSoto. But you know, hotel was great, your meeting was great, but you had a bad. So we keep up with stuff like that, and we meet with hotels in regards to saying, hey, have you heard anything? Because a lot of times people will come into the hotel mad, they'll say something to the hotel. So we have that relationship with the hotels to make sure that we keep abreast in regards to that. We had a really bad experience a couple of years ago where truckers would stay at the Grande, where people were breaking into the trucks. So then we had a meeting with the police department to say, hey, this is happening. What can we do to address this? Because those are people who are coming into town. And unfortunately, they can come in town for whatever they want to, but they can have one bad experience in the city of DeSoto. They had a bad experience in DeSoto. If they have a bad experience at the Cheddar's, at the Chili's in DeSoto, that's in Lancaster, at the restaurant here, the thing about it is they're not going to go to that one. But they will still go to that chain of restaurants.
But
just not that one in DeSoto. So we monitor them, we keep track in regards to that when people come in or what the hotels are telling us in regards to that. So that's the tourism part for that, but we have that meeting every quarter, and we haven't had that meeting yet.
Yeah. What is that? Is there an update on the Magnum Hotel? I heard that there was some renovations.
It's on our agenda.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Coming up.
Yeah, coming
Thank you.
Coming up.
Don't be asking me stuff I ain't supposed to know.
Anyone have any other questions for our own Kenneth Gobay? Okay, Kenneth, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you.
Thank
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, that makes me sore.
Really? Just looking at it, make
Kenneth, that's painful. All right, next we have our Industry Hubs, Grow DeSoto Marketplace Activities Summary Report from May 15th to June 15th by our own Terry Toohey.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. That is page
53.
53. I knew you were looking for it.
Well, I just want to make a comment, and I want to remind everybody we're coming off a year of COVID. And so a lot of things we did in the previous year, you're not getting reports on because we didn't do them during COVID. We had to operate in a different way. And so what I do is try and develop resources for small businesses and all kinds of resources. And so, Mayor, your comment about the Goldman Sachs 10,000, the lead instructor is a personal friend of mine. When they have a new enrollments, I get those out to people, and I've started including all of the board on those kinds of announcements, so that you'll know that I already have those connections, and those kinds of opportunities are open to everybody who applies and qualifies for the program. So we're already in that network. The other program is the SBA Emerging Leaders Program, and so they haven't brought on a new class yet, but as soon as they do, I'm on SBA's advance notice list, and so as soon as I know about that, I get the information out. Now, I can't make people apply. I can only give them the opportunity. And so, and Joe sat in on some of my training sessions the past few weeks. I really try and get the information to those people, to not only the people that are in the incubator, but people who are on all of our mailing lists. And that goes through our newsletter. It goes through the, what we do on social media to try and get that information out to the community. I was involved in a very high-level meeting this past week, and I've lined up 3 excellent shows that we'll be doing. We won't be broadcasting on July 2nd because of the July 4th weekend. But on the 9th, we have someone who has a marketing and PR firm who's going to be doing a show with us, and we're calling it What's Your Story? Because every small business wants to be interviewed, and they don't know how to take an interview. If you ask them what's your story, it's up, up, up. No, that's not how you approach a reporter. You have to have your story. And so that's what that show is going to be about. I'm also going to invite Robbie Owens, who is with CBS, to see if she can sit in on part of that, because it's important for small businesses to know that reporters are looking for good stories, and you got one chance to pitch them, and you need to be ready to pitch. Another program that we're lining up is with Tom Henry. Tom Henry is a billionaire. He's funded the technology school at SMU, and he's agreed to be on our podcast to talk about you need to be working on your business, not just in your business. And so I thought he would be the perfect person, and any of you who would like to participate that are business owners, we would love to have you participate, because what we're running into in the incubator is the small businesses are working in their business. They're not working on their business. And therefore, they're not creating the path to success that they need to generate. I will send out an announcement as soon as they've confirmed, but I'm aiming for July 16th for Mr. Henry. And then Dave Sykes has a 6-week course on entrepreneurship, and he and I are already talking and projected to the 23rd, because it's important for people to understand it's not one decision. There is a chronology of education that you need to go through to get you ready to be in business. You know, the old Ralph Cramden, I can't be out of money because I still have checks. And that doesn't work. You've got to have a plan. You've got to have a strategy. How are you going to move forward? And so, I'm really looking, how do I create more high dynamic resources that are going to help these businesses get that aha moment? I've taught marketing and PR at the college level. I've been a SCORE mentor. I mentor companies across the country. And so, when you hear that some of the folks here are not taking advantage, that's a wasted resource. And so, however I need to get that message out, however you need to help get the message out, that I'm here as a resource to these community businesses. I was president of SCORE Dallas from 2015 to 2017. We increased mentoring by 44%, but we increased overall services by 79%. Now, all of you who've run businesses, that is phenomenal. And so, how do we bring that same energy into this community? Because I can tell you, I had CPAs, I had bookkeepers come and do training sessions with our incubator tenants. And until we got to PPP and the EIDL loans, and they came running to me to figure out, how do I set up my books? Well, why aren't your books set up? And so it's that kind of, you can't wait till you get to a disaster to do something. You've got to plan and get to where you need to be. And so I welcome, you all know, I welcome your feedback. I've done lots of things to create educational opportunities for these folks. That's why I now do Facebook Live, where the sessions are archived, and the tenants can go back anytime and watch the session. We're going to continue doing that.
It does, Terry, I do have a question, and it's related to what the Mayor said earlier. Is it possible for us to build into our rent agreement with incubator tenants that they will submit to and attend a certain curriculum or
It was in the.
the mayor talked about a pathway.
Yeah, it was in the original documents. I don't know that it's still there because, and that needs to be looked at because.
I always go back to our incubator is in the
They didn't
name
have
of the
that
place.
like that, and they also was supposed. It was in part of their agreement. They'd also join the chamber. They'd also do
Right,
this
right,
kind of
right.
stuff. That way, we can help them in regards to that,
Yeah.
so they can see that. But it
They,
is
all,
fallen out of
they have
place.
access. I just think, like, I go back to my farm boy roots, right? An incubator is for little chicks,
That's what
and they're running around. They're not, and you have to care for them, and you can't just wait for them to find water and feed and whatever. So we've got to tell them. And I think the mayor's thought of having a curriculum and a pathway that's mandatory. And if you choose not to do that, that's fine. That means the incubator is not the space for you. Right, right.
That's right.
I think we need to investigate that.
Yeah.
All.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that some of that language maybe has been left out of the recent agreements, but it does need to be put back in.
She's been struggling with this.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Time that's been spent in that.
Well, and and I go to them individually too. So as I walk around, as I talk to them, as I can spot problems sometimes and kind of take them aside. And I don't solve the problem for them, but I try and ask strategic questions. So in one of our restaurants that didn't make it, I sat down with her one day and I asked her, so what's the feedback you're getting from your customers? I knew what the feedback was. And she, oh no, they love everything. I said, you're not listening to what I'm asking you. What is the feedback you're getting from your customers? If you refuse to take the feedback, you're going to fail. Because when your customer gives you a complaint, that's a gift. They are telling you what you're doing wrong, and you need to pay attention to that. And she chose not to pay attention to that, and then she didn't make it.
Terry, I actually have a question.
Yes, go ahead. I welcome your question.
Do we have, and maybe this is for you or the mayor, do we have a list of every business that's in the city?
I would think the chamber probably would be the
we
closest.
don't. Yeah, we have types of lists. Yes. Can I guarantee it's every single business? The answer is probably not. But we do have lists.
They're being taxed, right? So
Depending on, and so tax means, because some of them are leasing space, so they wouldn't necessarily, it would be the building owner versus the individual businesses within that, like if say a shopping strip per se.
We have a list of everyone that has a sales tax number or a franchise
even
tax.
that, there's got to be like
We don't
something.
have one thing we don't have is their email address. I mean, we have their physical address.
Why not?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying there's
Right.
like
The lists that
3,000.
we have don't have.
I think 3,000 on there.
So these should be all part of a contract that's established with these businesses so that we can track this stuff to the business. And like you said, not just the incubator, but we all have let's say, I love it, we all have the same last name. It stops with DeSoto. So there's got to be a way for us to monitor a lot more tightly who's in the city, who's operating in the city, and how to do business. Because like you said, you don't wait to prepare when you've gotten to a disaster.
Right.
We know that it's an issue, so we need to determine what this is going to look like going forward because we're doing much of the same thing.
Same thing. I think that's number one, the committee.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's to kind of look at, to explore and have some of those ideas to be brought out because those were some of my things. And I think one of my first meetings, official meetings with Brandon was that same thing. Do we have a list of like every single business in the city to see how people are being truly impacted? My reasoning for asking was because of COVID and the pandemic. However, I think it could lend itself to many things in the future in terms of how we support our businesses and just how we do business or how we encourage others to do business with our cities and have that contact information. But I think we just got to figure out who's going to be responsible for managing, collecting, and making sure that list is as up to date as possible. We just need to figure out who that individual, and that could be again some of the work of the committee to be able to just kind of and maybe maybe that's a committee outside of just the one that's specifically focused on the incubator, because I had the thoughts about just small business development in general within our community, but to make sure, because like you said, we have lots of lists everywhere depending on what it is, whether that's sales tax, the chamber has lists of their members. So there are lots of lists. We just got to figure out how can we compile it, how can we get it all into one kind of a master list of with the contact information to make sure we're have that information available. But to answer your question, no, that list probably doesn't exist in the format that you're mentioning of today. But definitely, I think it would be useful, and we just got to figure out who's going to be
Mayor, I just
responsible
need the
for it.
authority.
Exactly.
Little paycheck and the authority.
Keep in mind also, there are a lot of home-based businesses as well.
Sure.
And
But
so,
a starting point.
It's
just
gonna
to
be your
start
brick and
with
mortar.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
brick and
yeah,
mortar
brick and
might be a
mortar.
starting point and widen the aperture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and we have tried multiple things, and Mayor Proctor, you can attest to that. I mean, we've had major coverage on all of the networks. We've had, the Dallas Morning News has written multiple articles about the incubator and about the programs that we offer. And so if there's more that I could be doing that you want me to do.
I was gonna say, I don't think so.
It's gotta
It's-
start way. It's not. You're doing
you're doing what you can do.
Are those newsletters getting to these individual
And what are you doing
businesses?
with
You know?
them? So the education has to start
Yeah.
way
Way
back.
back.
And these incredible resources. It's like teaching them how to use them and take advantage.
Well, and it's frustrating for me
Oh, for sure.
when I see
Because you
some.
can see, oh my God, if you get this.
Yeah, and then to hear your business
She had
complain.
she wasn't complaining. Hold on, time out. It was not a complaint.
Comment.
It was a comment, and it was a gift,
Yes,
and I brought it to
absolutely.
everyone.
Yeah.
So I was just a little taken aback that she didn't know who you were, and it's not that she knew you and you didn't help. She had no idea that you even existed.
Yeah.
And I was like, Terry Toomey? You don't know who she was like, yeah, she was like, I haven't heard back from anybody.
I can tell you that if you called into SBA, the regional office here, and you asked for somebody in the entire southern tier to mentor somebody, they would call me.
I don't even know if the husband knew about that
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
just, I think, like she said, the member said, you've done everything you can, and we're doing much of the same. We've got to do something different to get a different result.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And then as we build, I have programs built. I've developed the streaming media channel, the B Train. I invested $50,000 to get that started, and we're marketing it at $9.99 a month because I also have to recoup some of that investment. And so it's getting that information out to people, getting them to understand, and then I'll be talking with the mayor and the city manager sometime this week on a new program that's coming down that will give us a chunk of money that we haven't had to be able to invest in small business if we get the grant. And so, and I want you to know, and everybody, and Joe knows, I don't do anything that's a secret. Everything I do, I bring to Joe before I even enact it. And so he always knows what I'm working on, what I'm working towards. I've met with the mayor on another project that's a long-term project. But it's all about developing resources for small business. And so it's,
I think the education piece is probably where we've got to
Big gap.
Yeah.
We've got to build it up and put the energy there.
Yeah.
But can I ask a question? You're right, and I love that. But how do we get it to the people who are just there?
Yeah.
And because that's where I'm struggling right now.
Yeah.
I'm pushed back that someone in town needed help, but we don't know about it. And unfortunately, I'm challenged in regards to how do we overcome that hump in regards to, because usually when they apply for a CO, we've worked with the city and we get that list and we'll send something to them in regards to that. And we don't make it a big deal, but we send a letter to them to welcome them to the city. So, outside of that, how do we reach those people? Because a lot of times we'll go by them and they're saying, I'm busy right now, I don't have time to talk to you.
And
And I
they
understand
are.
that. And I understand that. 200%. But then 6 months from now, and you need that help, but we don't know it.
Sure.
So I know I'm very open in regards to how do we fix that.
Sure. And I don't know that you can capture 100%. I think it's always going to be maybe some things that fall in line, but I think I'm kind of, and I think this is what I hear you saying, Director Jordan, is that we've got to start with the education, because what I don't want to happen is that our business owners start relying on grants and government funds. They need to know how to make money in their business, whether or not they get government funding, grants, loans, any of that. They need to know, how do I make money and build systems into my business that I can rely on to help me run an effective business. I don't want them to become reliant on us saying, okay, as a city, we're going, because that's just not sustainable. That's not what business is, right? It's a different type of mindset that I don't want us to start giving to our business owners that feel like they, with an incubator, when we talk about what it means to be in an incubator, because again, even with the marketing of the business, I understand the concerns with some of the business owners, and they say, well, you guys just need to market the space better. I agree with that. However, marketing is a skill that any successful entrepreneur has to build within themselves. So how do we get them the resources to help them build these skill sets more than we are saying, here's some money? Because you can throw money at businesses all day, but if you don't know what to do with that money to replicate it and to put it back into your business in the right areas, it still won't necessarily be as effective as we want it to be. So my thing is that we, again, kind of go back to the original intent, was to build a structured curriculum to where we can say Entrepreneur A comes in at this level, and they went through all of these steps, and they came out, and we now build case studies for people that have gone through our, so when we talk about getting press, those are the things that I think kind of press that lives on, to say, wow, these people went through this program and now they're here, they're successful, and they're able to stand on their own 2 feet. They have the skill sets that any successful entrepreneur needs to have. They have the banking relationships that any successful entrepreneur needs to have. They have the business acumen, and they can understand and talk the language to be able to compete on the next level once they leave the incubator in whatever determined time we do. And the goal of that, when we talk about going all the way back to the original intent of what the incubator was to build businesses and grow these businesses within our city and have them to go in the vacant spaces that are on Hampton Road and in these strips, and to work out some sort of a partnership with the business owners, the building owners that own these, to say we're grooming these people to come out and be successful, and they're able to now go in and read their lease and negotiate a lease, and they have all of these different skill sets, rather than us saying we're going to get all this government funds and here's how you apply for this. Because again, that's not the mindset that a successful business, it's not sustainable, and that's not one that that wasn't the goal. I think that the committee and the ones that brought this originally had forth, it was to help them to get the business education they needed in a formal manner, to be able to have a space to where they could exercise those muscles and build those skill sets in more of a controlled environment before they actually go out there into the real world, so to speak. To start their businesses. So that was more so the goal. So I don't want to develop this mindset that we're going to just go hunt for money for you all and market your businesses for you. These are skill sets that they're going to have. If they went anywhere else to start their business, they would have to market their own business. They would have to have that skill set. They would have to go in and go to the banks or whatever else they have to do. So I want to keep bringing us back to kind of the original intent
That's really
of what that space was meant to be.
You're right. I think we got to put it back
Gotta
in the
be.
requirements, the profiles,
Definitely.
establish what it looks like.
So we can tell our taxpayers with this money, and when they're hearing these statements, these financial statements, and they're losing money, it wouldn't make me very confident as a resident to hear that there's a public-private partnership. And not that business doesn't lose money. We all have businesses here. You lose money from time to time. So I think that's less of the point I'm trying to make, but we want to make sure that we're able to account for and show our our residents the success of it, and that these are our own people that are coming from our community to be successful in business.
And in that selection process of these folks, they have to understand all of that. They have to understand
that there's going to be requirements.
And we have struggled with this, as long as I've been on the board. You've offered these programs for them, the resistance.
Because
that we have.
it's almost, I feel like, and this is, and I could be wrong, but this is just kind of me from the outside looking in. It's because we're giving them a choice in the matter in terms of this, and some of them, because they come in at so many different levels, we don't really know who needs what. It's hard to say who needs what and where they are and all of that. And some people are just and honestly, some people are coming in just based on conversations that have been had with me personally. And what I gather is this is a place where we can get reduced rent, cheaply. That's it. But they're not coming. They're not necessarily coming in looking for the business training. It's not a program to them. It's just a place where I can get a reduced rent to run my business out of. And that's and albeit no slight to them, because you have to make sure that we teach people how to feel about it by what we present. And so if we never correct that or steer them in any other direction to make them think otherwise, then who can blame them if that's what they're thinking, or if that's the word on the street about the incubators, that they can go in and have a reduced rent.
And it's that mentality in regards to that. Why we have a hard time in regards to, they say, well, I have to go to work, so now my store is closed. And then they said, well, I'm not making money, but your store is closed. And then, but that also hurts the incubator as a whole, because when other people are coming in there and you have 10 stores that are closed during the day and everybody else is open, then the mentality of people, I'm not going to make in there because everything is closed, and that hurts the incubator as a whole. So a lot of times is, again, I know how to bake a pie, and that's all I need to know. And all this other stuff that Ms. Tooney is talking about, I don't need, but it's hurting your business and you don't even know it.
Some of these businesses sound like they'll be better suited as home-based businesses.
A lot of them started off as home-based businesses.
Or online.
Or online, yes. A lot of them started off that way, and they want the same. They did it whenever they felt like it. But now they saw an opportunity, as the mayor said. Oh, I have cheap rent over there. But then you want to do it the same way you did when you was at your home business, and that's not the way this program works.
Yeah, and I think it's important for everybody to realize we don't approve everybody who comes in front of us. I could be more effective if I interviewed everybody before they signed a lease, because I can tell then exactly where they are. And part of, we had one recently who, when I was able to talk with her, I said, this is absolutely not. They're not ready. They don't understand what the expenses are going to be. And when you've got to pay rent every month and you've got to pay insurance and, a possible employee, that's a whole different cost structure than running a business from your house. And you only work when somebody calls you. And so when people are not ready for that, I'm the best person to identify that, because I can ask them strategic questions. And you don't want to ask those questions in front of a group, because some of that's confidential information. And as a SCORE mentor, I cannot share confidential information with anyone. And so it's very important to me and for that person to understand that any information they share with me is completely confidential. And I might give Joe a heads up that, we're headed to some problems, but I can't share with him exactly what the problem is. And so it's that not only confidentiality that you're observing, but they need to trust that the information they share is confidential.
Great. Directors, do you have any other questions for Terry, Toomey, or the incubator? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. I think there'll be some discussions about next month and about how we start down this road. Number 7, we want to hurry. We've got the director that needs to be out of here, so we want to have him speak into some of these things. Number 7 is deliberation, discussion, and action to approve a facade grant for RAPK Hospitality, Magnuson Grand Hotel, $50,000. All right.
Board, this actually starts on page 56, but the numbers are on page 61. Ever since I've been here, there have been groups that talked about remodeling the Magnuson Hotel and bringing it up to date, blah, blah, blah. Nothing has ever gotten done, pretty much. And he heard about our facade grant and thought, well, that help on, on part of, at least the outside? I said, well, bring it to the board, give us get your estimates together, exactly what it will be, and don't start any work ahead of time because, we want the board okay before you start remodeling. Because I don't make the decision, and so the numbers came in at $97,700. He's asking for half of that to be reimbursed after he does all of the stonework, the fencing, the concrete potholes, the painting of the building, the parking lot, fire lanes, landscaping, beautification. Those type of things are eligible uses under the facade grant program. So what he's asking for, it's at $50,000, but it's really $48,850 reimbursed after all work is done, and he gives us paid receipts showing that the work has been done. And I'll try to answer any questions. He couldn't be here this morning, but I'll try to answer any questions you have.
I have a question, Joe. I think we discussed in our last meeting, kind of pushing for getting some bids, some quotes.
Yeah, that's what this is on page 61. This is from someplace in Colleyville, SIK Property Management, and this is.
So this is the only one they provided?
That's the only one that.
Yeah, I think you said.
You've got.
Yeah.
And then you've got the these for professional services, and that says HVAC on there. We don't do HVAC. Oh, painting of the outside of the HVAC.
But it looks like it's from.
Yeah, we don't do that. Stucco painting, those type of things. That hotel definitely needs an upgrade. And of course, we do nothing on the inside of the building. We get a lot of calls for finish outs, and if we go down that road, then we would be here forever. I mean,
So, what is the plan for the inside? Are they remodeling all of that?
He didn't provide me with any of that because we have nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
This is the carrot we use to try to get people to improve the looks of their building.
Okay.
Things that can be seen from the outside.
Right.
Y'all did one for Dairy Queen recently. That's going to look like a brand new building when you get through. But we did nothing on the inside, but it will look like a brand new building. We did a lot of these little signage things. We mentioned signs that we've done for Heritage Coffee and Kevin Carson's Upscale Soul Food Restaurant, things like that. But those businesses are coming along. We have not actually paid anyone anything yet on those.
My concern is that if we make an investment in, into this hotel, is the improvements that they're planning on, is that going to be enough to make this a viable hotel? I mean, because right now it's an eyesore as far as I'm concerned. And, I'm a little concerned about spending money, on it, and then it ends up ultimately not making it,
They've been in business.
Yeah.
They've been in business a pretty good while. I mean, probably, I don't know how long they've been here.
I think, I came in 94 and it was, I think 90. It went up somewhere in the late 80s or like.
Yeah, it's an old hotel.
It's been obviously owned by a number of different people. It's changed.
I don't know. I didn't go back on the.
It started as a holodome, right? It started as a holodome back in the day. And then I've put up lots of people there. Rooms are pretty smoky, pretty tough. We've had to move from room to room to room to just. It's difficult because of the trucking industry school that meets there. That's just so when you go there, you've got lots of trucks and lots of truckers, and it's a school.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where the school meets, and the restaurant, I don't think the restaurant functions any longer.
Oh, really?
It's dark. I've been there several times. It's been dark.
King, I like your idea though of us having some insight into their plan. I don't know if that's even an option for us to get some additional information for like forecasted sales or something like that. Is that possible?
Well, certainly, I think one thing that it sounds like what you're wanting is what the scope of work includes inside the building, right? You know, on that, there's some information that they may be a little bit reluctant to share with us, things like sales and whatever it is. But if we ask them, give us an idea of what it is that you're doing on the inside, because we want to make sure that it's going to be a viable product at the end of the day for the investment. I think that's a perfectly legit question for us to ask, to include what is it on the inside that you're planning on improving, so we can have a list of those items.
And we can always make the motion subject to having all that information forwarded on to you. I mean,
Or you can just table it.
There is no question that, like you said, it's one of those businesses right at the entrance of our city. It's a big deal. I mean, when you come to DeSoto and it doesn't look good now. And
I think I've seen windows open and curtains out and everything. You know, that's just not
question.
Good. Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to ask earlier, what about, can you ascertain whether or not there is a push to rebrand to a more mainstream type hotel? I know that hotels sometimes will fly different flags. Sure. That's how we ended up to where we are now, which is not a national flag, but that would be interesting too. When you go back and inquire about whether they are improvements on the inside, is this an effort to put you in a position to rebrand?
Okay.
You know, and if so, will you fly a Holiday Inn, a Radisson? What flag will you fly?
Well, I think Magnuson Grand, if you go north on 35, I think it's a part of a group. I think there's an investment group, because there's a Magnuson Grand north on 35 and Royal, maybe 35 and Forest Lane, somewhere up in there.
So they got their own branding.
I think yes. I think it's one.
Yeah.
It's not as big as Holiday Inn. It's probably more of a local.
Yeah.
And then my question is with regard to the point that you were making about multiple bids. What requirements do we have in place for these requests of who bid or how many bids or anything?
If they have time before the meeting, see, this didn't come to me until, the 21st. I just barely got it on the agenda. We suggest that they get at least a couple of qualified bids, but it's not a requirement. I mean, the signage people, same way. We also encourage them to use local contractors when at all possible. We're doing that with Thorntree. They ask for a list of qualified local contractors, and we supply them what we have. We really don't have that great a list of local contractors sometimes, but especially when you get into minority contractors, those type things. But up y'all.
Director's office.
Two things. One, can we make requirements instead of suggestions about getting two bids?
Sure.
And then the other thing is, can we build out this list of contractors that you said you have? But can we build that out so that when people are applying, they can look at that list and get bids from those, if at all possible?
Yeah.
Because I know there's companies in Colleyville, which is fine, but I'm just saying I'm sure there are probably local businesses that can do the same work.
Maybe. I know we had trouble finding a list of contractors for the Thorntree project, for especially the minority contractors. So we can change the rules or change criteria any way you want to. And this would be a good thing to bring up.
The businesses so there's a spot on the NCTRCA is the group in North Central Texas.
Regional
There you go, Certification Authority. They are you can go onto their website and you can actually download a list. So it's not, the city doesn't even have to generate a list for them. They can go onto that website and that's kind of where we point them to, is say go to that website, download the list, and you'll see that there are companies in the area. If we're lucky in DeSoto, not always, right? With that and kind of steer them towards some of those, but that's kind of our practice right now as far as how it is. If they ask us for recommendations on where they go, that's kind of where we push them to.
Board, what's your pleasure? Should we table this until next time, finding out a little bit more information?
I would recommend tabling.
Good. Do we need a motion to table?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get on the record
Okay.
a motion to defer until next.
Anyone want to make a motion to table this agenda item until our next meeting or our retreat, depending on which comes first?
It'll be the same day, I think.
Okay, Director Johnson makes that motion. Do I hear second?
Second.
Okay, Director King makes that motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. We've tabled 7 until our next meeting. Thank you, Board. Number 8, deliberation, discussion, and action to approve a facade grant for Fast Fist Martial Arts.
Directors,
Mr.
this
Joe.
starts on page 63. This came to me recently, and Mr. Fuller didn't know about our program and is being asked to be reimbursed for something that happened a couple of months ago. And, you know, I said I don't make the decision, but normally we don't do that. We like to get authorization first, he had his ribbon cutting last week. I was there. Someone at the chamber mentioned about our facade grant, and so he quickly applied for reimbursement for signage. He's here, I believe. Mr. Fuller? Yep. If you have a question directly of him, he's asking for half of his signage cost back. And I'll try to I'll let him answer any questions you might have.
He's here. He can answer those questions. Any questions for Mr. Fuller, Board?
Mr. Fuller, this was paid on the
Could you,
second.
Mr. Fuller, could you stand up maybe, and or maybe come to the table so we could talk to you here? Thank you.
This expense was paid on the 2nd of April. Yeah. And Joe, you said we normally
Only don't do that. I mean, the Chamber of Commerce is the one that told him about our program, and I said, well, it's a board decision.
I think typically, Mr. Fuller, we would pay these things going forward and have questions, just like we did on our last one. You saw how that went. We like to see the landscape plans. We like to see the colors. We like to see a couple different bids. And so this is a unique author. Sorry you have to leave, but appreciate you. Thanks for being here. So directors, do you have any other thoughts about this application, which has come in post conclusion, post being finished? I'm not even sure. Can you tell us? I'm not sure exactly where this is.
Yeah.
It's folks in Pleasant Run, across the market.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, sure.
In the GNC and the
Yeah, okay.
Is it in that strip there or in the back?
Yes.
Okay.
It's in between GNC, GNC right there.
Yeah, okay.
I've been there a couple of years. Yes, it's a reopening. Yes.
I would feel more comfortable if we're going to ask the other businesses to give us multiple bids. I think we need to be consistent.
Right. Yep.
And so,
Well, we hadn't done it. We talked about this in the last meeting, and that didn't happen this time, and it didn't happen with him. So I think that going forward, that makes sense. But we've already done it.
well, I'm saying the hotel, that's what we said, that's why we tabled it. We wanted multiple bids.
But
Not just
for something that hasn't happened, this is already done.
The sign is already up.
Right, well, so, yeah.
Not just multiple bids, but I also think that we would want, as a board, we would want the opportunity to say, we're not going to reimburse that kind of sign if we didn't agree. Like, we want to see the elevate. We want to see what it's going to like. Go back and look. So besides the multiple bids, like we've got color choices here from.
Do we have photos?
From 59. We don't have any photos in the packet at all.
I know the problems we ran into on the Thorn Tree deal, just trying to get a single bid, because trying to get any kind of contractors right now to work, and I'm trying to, right now, you just can't get anybody to even give you a bid. They're so busy. There's just so much going on that you're going to slow it down. I mean, if you want things to happen quickly, we have to move fairly quickly. The more layers of red tape or bureaucracy you put in, it's just going to slow things down. I mean, I'm not advocating. I don't know these people, either one of them.
Let's keep. I want us to keep on target though. Yep. So let's separate out the two bids from. Do we want to post date?
What would be the problem with doing that?
Post dating, just everyone should start applying, and this is 2 months ago, the next one might be 3, the next one might be 5. I'm just afraid, that same way with, well, if we start doing interior work, that, we could just.
And it's an issue too with Mr. Fuller. For my vote, I'm sorry for my vote, just because you didn't know. I mean, he didn't know about this, and just like your friend didn't know about Ms. Toomey, how do we get this information out? That's the question, right? To make all of our small businesses aware of all of the options and all the opportunities that we as a city and we as a DDC offer. I don't know how to do that, but this is one of the consequences of them not knowing.
I think this would set a precedence.
Yeah, I
Yep,
agree.
yep,
Yes.
100%. Yep.
All right, great. Okay.
I feel there's a consensus, Mr. Fuller, on the board that we don't want to post-date things, and I'm sorry about that again, just because I know I'm sure you're a great man and a great business, and it's a perfect sign, but going backwards, it would be an issue, I think. So I'll ask if anyone wants to make the motion to approve this project. Hearing none, I'm sorry, Mr. Fuller, we're not going to be able to do that as a DDC. Appreciate you being here. I'm sorry that you didn't know about the project. Next, we'll move to number 9.
We've already done 9.
We've already done 9? That's right. So number 10, I was trying to rush really fast so Arthur could be here for the whole thing.
Directors, I thought I would just give you a quick rundown on the budget, page 68. This is just my numbers. We can hash this out at the retreat a lot more better. I have given a copy to, given everything, but I gave an early copy of Matt, a copy of this. I do my budgets a little differently, and it seemed like the council at their retreat a couple of years ago really liked the way that I go through it. Page 70 explains every item on the budget. It kind of explains everything in common English, and so I'm not asking for any action today. I just want you to be aware that these numbers are my best guess of how things are going to go. We have been very lucky on sales tax, and we're funded by currently 3/8 of 1 cent. It will be 1/2 of 1 cent starting July 1st. Yep. So,
And I just want to make the point that, as Mayor Pro Tem said in this meeting earlier, it was the historic board of the DDC that made the decisions to bring in the businesses that caused those sales taxes to be what they are today, that took us through the pandemic. This board. Just want to make that out loud. I want to make that really loud.
That observation.
Everything's a joint effort. I've been, gotten accolades for things coming here, but I tell everybody it is a combination of the board, city council, everything working together to make progress happen. And there's people that don't like progress; they don't want to see changes. I've ran into that in a previous community with an anti-growth mayor. Those things happen. But if anyone has any specific questions on anything,
Are there any call-outs?
I'm sorry?
Are there any call-outs, anything you look forward to that you call our attention?
Not really. I mean, other than the big change this year compared to previous years is that the 1/8 of 1% sales tax that used to go to Parks and Recreation, I'm just breaking it out. And I'm showing that that's going to be, my estimate's about $1 million. And they will be coming, probably the director of Parks and Recreation will be coming to the board to ask for things. I mean, whether it's playground equipment or whatever. The only debt they have is, let's see if I can find their debt real quick here. They have one bond payment, and out of the number 60, 65, number 66 on page 69, they have debt service of $118,500 a year. Next year it'll be $117,875. And they have a Kohl's incentive rebate that we also have a percentage of that. That's estimated, that shows what it was this year, 217,000. I'm estimating 225 next year for out of that 1/8 of 1%. And then all other parks and rec improvements, and we don't have a clue what that is, but that has to come through us now, and then it will go through city council, I guess. If it's over 50,000, we know it will. But we're just taking on a lot of their budget now.
I have a question. Are you done?
Yes.
Yes. It looks like we are anticipating a 1.1 million increase in the budget.
Yeah, well, because of we're getting 1/8 of a cent that we didn't get last year.
Okay.
That's a we were actually going. My estimate is we're going to get about $3 million this year. The EDC, and then the parks is getting $1 million. So that's $4 million that this board will be allocating.
So I guess my follow-up question to that, and I know this is probably splitting hairs a little bit, but things like, I think you just mentioned Brook Hollow. That I understand that, and thank you. The professional services, the retail coach, what is that?
That's in my. One of the things the council wanted us to do is focus more on retail, and so a couple of years ago, just maybe last year, before that, I can't remember, we hired a company that specializes in going out and meeting with retailers, and that was part of my report I sent y'all, and it lists the companies that they're meeting with. It's a contract that we have with them.
Consulting firm.
It's consulting company. And if you don't want that in there, we can take it out. We have the right to, things that
they were brought on board right before, a little bit before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit,
Yeah.
and the question was, why are we spending money when business is really so hard? And there were not conferences that were occurring. They were contacting people for us in the midst of the pandemic. I'm not sure how effective they were.
That's my next question. How effective have they been
Right.
pre-pandemic?
Right.
Do we have anything to measure against the investment?
really and truly, no, we really haven't. We haven't landed a business. We have to keep going. We have to keep plugging, no matter what. You just don't quit trying just because you didn't get something. But same way with industry. We don't want to just sit back and wait for them to fall in our lap. But
that's a lot of money not to be able to track that to what they
it's
did.
what is it? 35,000, 30,000. Forget
I
it.
asked Pastor Crone about this the other day. Can we schedule something to have them come in and present?
Yeah. They have a whole slideshow of all the things that they do.
I know you're leaving, but if we can set that up.
Yeah, we'll put that in the board retreat also.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I know Councilmember Brown Patrick also mentioned that in terms of the retail coach about like it's been mentioned, what have they done? If that presentation could be extended to council as well, just because a council member has requested that information as well.
Okay.
They could also do that remotely, so we could tape it.
Sure.
We could record it, tape it. That shows my age. So we could record it and then be able to make it available to councilmen.
That's fine. No problem.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. That looks to me like we are moving to, we have no executive session today, and so we will, you've already received Joe's report in your email. Joe, you have anything you want to say about that?
I think for the audience, I just want I know that I've given you an update. Tell you a little bit about the operations now. Since we are, the only staff is me, all phones were forwarded to my personal phone. That call that I stepped out a moment ago is a developer that said they realized that they paid off a note they had with us, $65,000, about 2 years ago, and we didn't give them a release of lien. And I want to thank Kevin Laughlin that he got. I told him on Thursday he had it to me that afternoon, a release of lien that made, because they had the land under contract for that new industry that we're helping with the turn lanes. Y'all remember that a couple of months ago, and but those type of things happen, but all phones are forwarded to me, weekends, nights, doesn't matter. And I've talked to a lot of economic developers, they don't do it that way. They turn their phone off at 5 o'clock on Friday, they don't turn it back on until Monday morning. I just don't do that. But I did want to thank Kevin for that. They just want to make sure that there's several partners in that deal, and that was one of the partners that called about making sure that we had a release of lien. The retail coach, we've already talked about that. Tell the audience that our sales tax is up 13.08% compared to last June. That puts us up 18.26% for the calendar year. And we've got some other large industrial buildings coming near the corner of Center Park and Hampton Road. Next month, we have a major facade grant request coming in for the shopping center across the street. They first were just going to do the L part of it and just, awnings and, signage and everything. And they took it back to the owners, I guess, and they said, let's just do everything. Let's do the old, what I heard was the old Safeway store. It's a medical office building. Let's do everything at one time. So it's going to be a big one.
To where behind Jack in the Box.
Everything on that corner except Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box owns that, but everything else will be on next month's agenda. That will be a big one. Even just the L shape was, I want to say, $388,000, and they were asking for half of that. So it's going to be more than that. I don't know how much more, but they had nice drawings, all this stuff, and then they changed their mind. They wanted to wait a month to bring it back to the board. So that will be coming up next month. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else. Anyone have any questions for me?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. So if we know that's coming, and we've already had discussion about Madison, probably to start preparing to address that one in the same manner, so we're not going to push that off.
I'll let them know. Because we've been wanting to do something in that shopping center
Forever.
And we thought something was happening when Jack in the Box started. That was.
Now, how does that fit in with the Hampton Road plan?
That's what we were just
okay.
conversation
Hampton
about.
is south of there, right? The Hampton Road is from between Beltline and
No, the Hampton Road is anything on Hampton Road.
Anything on Hampton Road.
Anything on Hampton Road. But that's a Brandon question. We would have to, we were just discussing.
Okay.
How does that coincide?
Although I have been complaining for years. So
We all have.
It's a word. Dr. King gets
whatever
the word.
they do. Great.
All right, great. I like what Joe did, Pastor Bird. We have a great cloud of witnesses today watching us, and so we want to make sure we say the right stuff. I want to say at the end, just as far as an announcement is concerned, on Friday morning, July the 9th, we're assuming that Matt is able to be there since he'll be in the office tomorrow. Haven't heard from him. I did email him and ask him. Friday, July 9th, in what they call the fishbowl. I thought that was interesting. The fishbowl, the room right outside of here. We're going to have a kind of a going away for Joe, 8:30 a.m. It's going to be a breakfast meet and greet. You just drop by and make your comments or just touch base and leave. And also a welcome to Matt. So it's going to serve both purposes that morning.
What day is that again?
Friday, July 9. Friday, July 9, 8:30 in the morning. So we'd love for all of you to be there if you're able. And anyone listening to come and communicate to Joe their gratitude. He will be here with us the rest of the month. But
they're getting the tarred feathers ready. Looks like Christoph wants to say something. He's been saying that all day. I didn't want you to miss it.
We actually haven't registered the current bylaws with the state yet.
Well, bylaws don't have to be.
These ones we haven't got signed yet, haven't been registered yet. It's your legal office has asked me to do
Is that
this. I'm gonna do it.
is that certificate of formation?
Yes, it's part of the certificate of formation process. So I need 2 directors and the treasurer left on this, and Rachel, Mayor Proctor's signature on this, so we can get this done because we're late.
okay.
Because these are the ones that were approved in February by this board. So if you haven't signed this yet for me, please do before you leave today.
So everyone needs to sign, or you just need some?
You signed it as a secretary already.
Oh, that's what I've already signed.
You've signed it as secretary. So I could say secretary, vice president, president, and 1 director. I need 2 more directors and the treasurer.
All right. That's all I have, directors. Any other announcements?
Well, I just want to say, Joe, is this official last meeting or? Yeah.
No, I think I'll be here for the retreat, I believe.
Okay.
I don't, for the no.
Well,
I told Matthew, entirely up to him. I mean, I'll leave next week if he wants me. I don't care. I'll be here 3 months if he wants me to.
Well, we appreciate your service to DeSoto.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it, I really have.
You have a great knowledge of economic development and have been real helpful to our city, and we appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you've done a great job. Hate to see you go. Hate to see you go. Other comments?
I hate to bring us all the way back to the beginning of the meeting. I came in late on the meeting and I heard my name mentioned. I think Miss Wendy, your comments about an individual who reached out. I'm not sure who that was, but I heard my name mentioned and that I was reached out to, and I'm not aware of anything. So I wanted to just see if I could get clarification to see if we needed to
This
touch
is
bases.
Lynn's Beauty Depot.
Okay.
It's the name of the business, and it's on Hampton and Wintergreen. And the co-owner, her name is Rhodesia Scott Rowe. She had mentioned that she had connected with you sometime during last weekend's events, Juneteenth event. And it was that, I'm sure you met a number of people that day, shook a few hands, kissed a few babies, whatever it was. But it was that she reached out previously, and that the thought was that she would be coming by the business place, as other city officials had done, and that had not happened. And so I think the comment that her husband gave me was something like, it was just basic banter, but it was more or less that the thought was that she would come by. Everybody, he had some big shoes to fill with Mayor McCowan. And Mayor McCowan she was there. She was on site, seen, heard, touching, feeling everything. And I kind of got the impression that that's the expectation. I don't know if that's what was shared with this business owner or not, but that was the feedback that was given to me, so I brought it to the board. Like I said, she wasn't aware of the services. Her husband was not aware of what Ms. Toomey does, had not heard that from the chamber, and it was just really an impassioned plea for help. And I felt like it was just kind of beyond the line of what needed to be.
Okay. No, I don't remember. I've slept since then. I don't claim to be perfect, but I have no recollection of talking to her at the June 19th event. We were kind of in the VIP section, so I didn't spend a lot of time out and about other than there. We could have said hello, but in terms of any specific concrete conversation around her and her business and not having her back, I don't recall that. I do recall she reached out to me, I think, via Twitter. Or via some platform. We did connect, we exchanged numbers and all of that. And she had her ribbon cutting, and I was unable to come because I had a conflict in time. However, I did send a congratulatory letter and told her at some point I will be by on maybe one of her small business Saturdays, but I didn't receive any follow-up from her in regards to when those would be, or, how regular are they having those. And I mean, considering I'm, 4 to 5 months in, there's a lot of businesses, so it's going to take me a minute to kind of get from place to place, having, city business, other things like that, and constant events, when we talk about weekends or things like that. But she never mentioned to me, even in our conversation, and she has literally my personal cell number, that she was in need of anything in terms of her business resources. So that's new information to me in terms of that.
Just keep this in mind. I'm getting information from the husband.
Sure.
So, kind of frame out.
Because I do, and I understand about Mayor McCowan, but I pride myself on being the exact same way. I get people come to me all the time, and they're like, "You are all over the place," and so that's very important to me. And I was like that prior to being mayor as well. So I personally don't know how to respond to that, other than I don't recall seeing her at the June 19th festival. There were a lot of people there, but I will definitely make it a point to reach out to her because, like I said, she has my personal number, and I've made it a point when I could not be personally there at her ribbon cutting to send a letter on behalf of the city congratulating her on that particular event. So,
and I think that's wonderful, but
Yeah.
this is a great opportunity for us to just, do a little something extra where we can.
sure. And once I know about that, I always take action. If I know about it, I try to be very much accountable to any and everyone that I need to be accountable to. So now that I know that, I'll reach out to her. But in terms of anything specific that I recall, in terms of resources needed, I don't recall her mentioning that to me other than her inviting me personally to come to her event if there was a conflict, and I did send something in lieu of not being able to physically be there.
Well, we got the resources lined up. I think we're good.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Johnson. I want to say one thing before we leave, the directors. That I'm going to hope to have put on the agenda for the retreat, maybe, which is our next meeting. On our agenda was the chamber. Kenneth brought and I just didn't bring this up then. They are having a sponsorship of their conference room, and it's the Mayor Kirsty McCown Memorial Conference. I'm not sure what it's going to be named, but for $500 you can sponsor that room. There's a limited number of sponsorships, and then your name goes up on the wall. I think it'd be an appropriate thing for the board to think about sponsoring one of those places so that we could have, we could support the chamber as well. So it's $500. I don't know when they need it, but we can't vote today, but we can maybe put that on the agenda for the retreat. Okay. All right.
Brandon was out of the room a while ago, and there was a question came up, and they said, "Oh, that's a Brandon question. They want to know when you were going to fix Hampton Road." So.
What does fix Hampton Road mean?
I just want to make sure.
All right. Any other things? Any other comments?
Take all this stuff with this. I mean, I put it in the break room. Let the city employees have it, but please take break stuff with you.
Awesome. All right, then I'm going to call this meeting. I'm going to adjourn it at 11:27 this morning. Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Appreciate your input. Good to see you.
You want us to take this stuff out of here?
What's that? You can leave it, or you can take it whatever you want. I'm taking the budget and some of the things that were interesting to me, but otherwise it can just stay there.
Leave the tabs. I'm running short of tabs for something.
Joe's having to be the secretary, which,
Yes.
let me just say.
The grant that I'm applying for is called the Community Navigator Grant.
You mentioned that in our conversation.
Yeah, and so sometimes you can see
Pleasure meeting you.